set it off, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So we're starting our tour here of Juneau. We just had breakfast at the Rookery, which is a very famous cafe here in Juneau. It actually won a James Beard Award, if you know anything about chef, and that's like the highest award you can get in the chef culinary world. But we had breakfast at the Rookery Cafe in downtown Juneau. Now we're just south of Juneau. We're going to go to one end of the island, or not one end of the island, one end of the Juneau borough to the end of the road, going north to Thane. And let Jeff and John take pictures here on this outlook. A lot of clouds and stuff today, but it's still beautiful. All right.
Read a whole that camera?
Yeah, sure. Just try to pan it, so people can kind of see what we're seeing. If you can try to get that waterfall there, that'd be great.
I don't know if we could go there, but that gold mine area.
Oh yeah. That's going to be, that gold mine is the far end, one of the far ends of the Douglas Island. So yeah, we can try to do that. So as I was explaining to Jeff and John, these waterfalls you see, this is runoff coming from glaciers way up high in the mountains that form the backdrop behind Juneau, and or downtown Juneau, and this is glacial water. I mean, this water is very purer than any water you could ever get anywhere else.
Should have brought an empty gallon.
Well, actually, if you guys want, I don't know if you're up for this, John, but we could. It's a very easy hiking trail to get to the Nugget Falls, which is where I took Jeff. It's very flat. There's no hills. It's just a flat. It just takes about 30 minutes to walk there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're up for that or not, but you can let me know later in the day.
We saw a little mini bird-like ice creature floating that day.
You're talking about the iceberg?
Yeah, the little bitty piece of it looked like a little bird.
Yeah, because by April, most of the ice had melted. Well, because you were in mid to late April, most of the ice had melted at that point. Actually, I'm starting to see some icebergs already floating in the lake again. I guess maybe they broke off from the glacier in the summertime. But so everybody on YouTube, we're heading toward what's called Thane. Thane is to the south of downtown Juneau. We're going to the end of the road. I'm taking Jeff and John throughout today. I'm going to take them to the four extreme ends of, this extreme end of south of southern Juneau to the end of the road, and then I'm going to take them to the extreme end of the northern part, and then we're going to cross the bridge onto Douglas Island, which is an island that runs parallel to Juneau, parallel to the western rim of the continent, and I'm going to take them to both ends of Douglas Island as well. And we'll be stopping at various places along the way. As long as we want, because I got that memory card now, so I can.
Yeah, this is a good time to test it.
Yeah.
My sister said it's beautiful, that view that we were looking at. Douglas Island.
Oh, from the backyard of the Airbnb.
The mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a truly spectacular.
Of course, God's on every mountain, but might be on that one, looking down.
Yeah, this is definitely Yah's country. Alaska is Yah's country.
You realize how big the Earth is? And it's all Yah's.
That's why during the Millennial Kingdom, when Satan and all the fallen angels are bound in the bottomless abyss, which is the center of the earth, and there's no war, Jesus is ruling and reigning with a perfect government. That's why all the people that survived the tribulation that didn't make the rapture or resurrection, they're going to be having babies. And you think about it, you're going to have 1,000 years of peace. You realize how many, the world population is going to get probably up into the trillions. Now the New World Order and the Satanists try to make us believe, we have out of control population. Well, that's not true. If we had a righteous government, we were properly taking care of the world, which is what's going to happen during the Sabbath millennium, you have plenty of room for trillions upon trillions of people. Because I'm struck by this. When I'm in an airplane and I'm going over, say, like the Western United States or over Alaska, there's so much land that no one lives in.
That's right, yeah.
So, yeah, there's plenty of room for...
And Obama's plan was to draw the people together into small population areas.
Not just Obama's plan, that was also... It started with Bush Sr.
Yeah,
Bush Sr. and his 1,000 points of light. Yeah, and Obama was going to hand it off to Hillary.
Yep.
And Hillary was going to bring it to total fruition, and you'd start the Great Tribulation at that point.
And we'd all be riding bikes on these bike trails.
No, I don't think that. I think we'd actually be in World War III. And that's
yeah.
I want to wear a bike though, John. I mean, Daniel, I like the bike rides.
Yeah, I'm actually, because my fiance actually has a bike that she bought here. And I'm planning once the weather turns for spring, I'm planning to buy myself a bike as well. I think it'd be kind of cool to film a YouTube while I'm biking. What I really want to do is once we get our first snow, like really first good snow. We've had a little bit of snow earlier, but it hasn't stuck really. I mean, it's stuck for a few days. But once we get our first big snow, I'm gonna get myself a sled. And I'm gonna go sledding down a hill, and I think I'm gonna try to film a YouTube as I'm sledding down the hill with the snow spraying out on either side.
Be careful.
I think that would be epic.
So tell me, where is, in your opinion, is hell? I've always thought it was in the center of the earth.
Okay, I'll answer that in just one moment.
Okay.
Here, guys, we are at the end of the road, and John, if you can just show the end sign.
And right there.
This is literally the end of the road, guys. We are at the southern. You cannot go any farther south unless you go on this guy's private property here. You cannot go any farther south. If you want to go farther south and get to British Columbia or Washington, Oregon, you got to hop on a plane or a boat from here.
And how do I pause this?
You can just let it keep recording. If you're tired of holding it, I can sit. So I want to test it out to see how much we can record. Okay, so hell. So my belief is that no one is in hell right now, and no one's in heaven. My belief is that you fall asleep in Christ or you fall asleep in your sin. And at the resurrection, when we get resurrected, that's when we go to heaven to be with Jesus. And then, of course, we return to earth in our resurrected bodies to rule with him. And then as for the hell people, they don't get resurrected until after the millennial kingdom at the second death. And they're resurrected. All the wicked people are resurrected with brand new bodies from their sleep. All the wicked people at the great white throne judgment. And then they are thrown to the lake of fire. The lake of fire is what we call hell. The lake of fire is where every wicked person, along with the devil and his angels, will be tormented from age to age, forever and forever. And I believe the lake of fire, probably similar to like what our sun is. And because the wicked people are going to have resurrected perfect bodies like us, that's why they're going to be tortured forever. Because their bodies won't die because they have these new bodies, but they're going to be in a place where those new bodies are going to be in extreme suffering. So the whole idea of people in heaven and hell right now. Now, I should take that back. There are some people in heaven right now. There's the 24 elders, which were people that were resurrected when Jesus, remember when Jesus died? And there's a great earthquake, and it says graves, certain people rose from their graves. So there was a little bit of a resurrection at that point. People said they even saw people walking around that had died. Those may be the 24 elders that are up in heaven right now. But in terms of this notion of people being in heaven and hell right now, that's from Greek mythology. That's not really what the Hebrew scriptures teach. That's why all through the New Testament, like for instance, when Stephen dies, it says he fell asleep in Christ. So I believe the resurrection has not occurred yet.
So then you believe people like Mary Kay Baxter and this guy that went to hell for 24 minutes. And,
well, think about it. I don't necessarily disbelieve them, because think about it. If you die, what's the very next thing you're aware of? It's like time travel. The very next thing you're aware of is when you get resurrected and meet Jesus in the clouds and go to heaven. Or if you're a sinner, if you die, the very next thing you're aware of is what happens after the 1,000 years, where you're resurrected before the great white throne judgment and you're cast in the lake of fire. So for anyone who dies, it's instantaneous, because they're not aware of how long they're sleeping, right? Just like when you go to sleep, you're not really aware.
Okay.
So Mary Baxter and these people, what they may have seen is glimpses of a person who dies, and the very next thing they're aware of is either Yom Teruah, at the end of the Great Tribulation, when they're resurrected to meet Jesus and go to heaven, or If they're a sinner and they died, the next thing they're aware of is 1,000 years after that, when they're resurrected before the great white throne judgment and cast into the lake of fire. So it's instantaneous to anyone who dies.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
That was one thing about Abel. You know, any of the first two died.
Yeah, Cain was the first murderer, and Abel was the first one who died.
So I was wondering about him. You know, what God decided to do with Abel.
Well, Abel is still sleeping in righteousness, just like every saint that's ever died. King David's still sleeping in righteousness. Peter talks about that in Acts chapter 1 and 2, or Acts chapter 2, when he gives his sermon at Pentecost. He says David is still sleeping. He's still asleep, but Christ is not sleeping. He's alive. Christ was only buried in the earth for 3 days and 3 nights, and then Joshua rose. But David's still sleeping. All these guys are still sleeping. Everyone's still sleeping. All the cloud of witnesses are sleeping. They're all sleeping.
Ooh,
Wow.
wow.
Colored birds.
That bird didn't quite make it, did they?
No, it didn't.
I think I just killed one bird. And that's another thing. The scripture also says, speaking of animals dying, I think I just killed a bird. It says all creation groans to be redeemed. So after the millennial kingdom, when we get the new heavens and new earth, guess what? Every tree, every animal, every dog that ever died, every cat, every bird, they all get resurrected, and they become what they would have been if Adam and Eve had never sinned.
Gosh, what would that be? What are you talking about?
If Adam and Eve had never sinned, because these animals didn't ask to be put under the curse. They had no choice, right? But they're subject to the curse, right? Because they all die and they all fight with each other and all that stuff. Well, after the millennial kingdom, when you get the new heavens and new earth where everything's made new, now you have total resurrection, all the sin's been done away with. Every blade of grass, every tree, every cat, every dog, every animal, because it's all creation groans for redemption. Every animal that's ever died will be resurrected, and they will have the bodies that they would have had the curse never entered the world. That's what it means when he says he's going to win.
Because we live in the world as it is, and we don't think in those terms.
Right.
Do we?
Well, Satan is the god of this world, and he became god of this world when Adam and Eve sinned, and then he actually lost his title deed to the world when Jesus died and rose again, but he's not been dispossessed as god of this world until Jesus returns for the second time. So he's lost the title deed to the world, but he's effectively still the god of this world until Jesus returns to complete what he started at the cross, which is taking up his rulership on planet Earth.
And you've discerned this from the Bible,
Yes.
studying it.
I've
Or
read the
does it
Bible.
come to you as well?
I've read the Bible through from Genesis to Revelation about 20 times since I've been converted. Because I read a chapter every day, and I was converted back in 1997. And I read the Bible through about 20 times, and you know what? Even after reading it 20 times through, I'm still, every day when I read a chapter, I still get new things. I'll always get new things. I'll never be able to dig to the bottom of what you find in the Bible. Never.
John was telling me in the airport some interesting things about the Bible, the hidden things that we just don't read right on the surface.
Yeah.
That's about Kennedy being spelled, you know.
Oh, the Torah codes. Yeah.
That's fascinating how God did all that.
Yeah, another evidence of why the Bible is perfect. It was written by Yah, not man. Men were just the vessels.
How he could keep all that in mind as he was dictating the Bible and throwing in all this extra stuff that wouldn't be discovered for thousands of years
It's amazing.
until we had computers.
That's why Isaiah says he knows the end from the beginning.
Yeah.
He knows the end from the beginning.
Sure, he knew about Kennedy. He knew he was going to be a philanderer and all that business. And he knew that he was going to die from the beginning. He's probably knew each of us.
Well, it says that in Jeremiah, it says, when you formed me in my mother's womb, you knew me.
Yeah.
You know, the people he's put here at the end, maybe we are at the end, right?
We're getting close to the end. Tis the season, that's for sure.
We're picked for some reason to be here.
And actually, to say we're getting close to the end is kind of a misnomer. It's not the end, it's the beginning of the we're getting close to the beginning of the 7th Sabbath day millennium. So we've had 6,000 years, just like you have 6 days of the week.
Yeah.
So prophetically, in the time scale of the 6,000 years, we're right at Friday evening, just as the sun's about to set. And that darkness that starts Shabbat, that's the 3.5-year Great Tribulation, which is sort of the false counterfeit millennium. And then after that 3.5-year tribulation, you come into the day of 1,000-year Sabbath. So guys, now we're driving north, and we're about to enter into downtown Juneau, which I'm going to give John and Jeff a little bit more of a glimpse of downtown Juneau before we continue our way north. And this is typical weather for November. You know, it's gloomy all day. The sun rises about 8 a.m., sets about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the sun's very low in the sky all day. And of course, when you have clouds like this, which is typical Juneau weather, it makes for gloomy days, which I actually love. This is the tram, guys. That tram doesn't operate right now, but in the summertime, it takes you up a mountain to a restaurant at the top of, or midway up Mount Roberts. All right, so now we're coming into downtown Juneau. A lot of these shops are closed because it's off season.
So basically, that tram was built for the restaurant?
Pretty much, and to get to that trail. You can technically hike the trail from the foot of the mountain, but a lot of people don't like to do that, so they like to take the tram up so they can get, you know, halfway up the trail and get a good head start. This is the Red Dog Saloon. This restaurant here is world famous. You go inside this place and it's literally like something out of the Old West. They have a Wyatt Earp's gun and stuff. I should probably take you guys into that place. You guys want it? Well,
No,
you don't need to go in there, I guess. Anyway, it's a neat place. In the summer they have live music, like a guy playing piano. But it feels like you're in a Western saloon.
but it's even open now?
Oh yeah, it's open. That's open year round. They have a really good buffalo. I've had a buffalo burger there. Really good buffalo burgers. Some of these shops are open year round, but a lot of them are not. They're only open from May through October.
Is that clock old, you think? That looks like one of the old...
Yeah, it's like an old-timey clock. I'll get closer so the people on YouTube can see this. Yeah, that's really neat. Go down this way.
We have one like that in Monroe that's been since the 30s or 20s. Still keeps good time.
Actually, I'll show you guys where they have this. Right here is an old-timey movie theater from like the way they used to have theaters back in the...
This here?
Right here.
Oh.
It's kind of a theater like they used to have in the
222.
Heritage Coffee Roasting Company. This is a really good cafe.
Yeah, Juneau drugs.
They actually have another location in the valley closer to where I live where the menu's even more expansive.
Give this to me.
Actually, I'm going to take you this
You
way.
have to show John
Take you this way.
the governor mansion too.
Yeah, I'm going to take you to the governor's mansion. It's kind of cool because the governor's mansion, there's no security. You can literally just walk right up to the governor's house.
Wow.
Probably, I guess because we live in a town that's only 33,000 people. So maybe they don't feel like they have to have security around the governor's mansion.
Right.
And also the other reason is Governor Dunleavy, who's, by the way, he's very pro-Trump. We just elected him a year ago. Governor Dunleavy is rarely in Juneau. I mean, he's here for session, but he typically lives out in Anchorage, and that's what most governors do. They live either out in Anchorage or like Palin lived up in, not Wasilla, but, well, she used to live in Wasilla, but she lives in Willow, which is north of Anchorage. A lot of them live out in Anchorage because that's where most of the people are. Juneau is, of course, you can only get here by boat and plane, so it's more, now if you can get this right here, John. I'm gonna lower my window. This is some really, I've filmed the videos, not for a while, but a long time ago. I used to film videos right here when I first moved here to Alaska. Now here's the governor's mansion, if you can get that, John. This is literally where Governor Dunleavy lives. when he's in town. You see, there's no security. You can just literally walk right up to the front door. That's the front door of the governor's house.
And get shot.
Well, I don't see any snipers like they had in the White House when Jeff and I were there. This is a very wealthy, one of the wealthiest people in Juneau owns this home. Not sure what he does for a living, but
you would think after people had so much money that they'd give up making money.
Yeah, you never have enough, do you?
well, money's not evil, but the love of money.
Yeah,
That's what's evil. This is I'm going to turn down here. This is an interesting park that in the summer and spring is nice. I've been up here to this park when PG&E, which is our electric company, they held a 150-year anniversary celebration. Now, if you can, I don't know if you can see I probably can't see the falls from there. Let me have the, well, I can't get it now.
better try.
When we come back that way, I'll show the audience that. But they had this huge celebration here with free food. They had a full-scale replica model of downtown Juneau.
Wow.
Where the buildings were like as tall as me. It's pretty amazing what they did down here. But anyway, this is just a park, but there's actually trails. There are trails that go up into these mountains here, which are quite stunning and beautiful. In fact, if we had more time, I might want to take you guys up there because it's very beautiful around here. And a lot of these trails I've never even hiked before. I've only been down here, but I've heard from others who've hiked that. Now this river right here, which I guess you still can't see it because of our vantage, but
you can see it.
This river right there, that runs the hydropower. Our electricity is completely run by hydropower. And that river is what turns the mill, the hydropower for the electricity that we enjoy, because this river is constantly flowing all year round, constantly.
Right. Where's that hydropower plant?
That's down here in, let's see if we can find it.
Well, we won't see anything.
I don't know if I can find it because I don't remember exactly where it is, but I know it's down here because when I went to the PG&E thing, they actually had directions on how you could tour the actual hydro plant. It's not far from here, I know that. I'd have to actually type it into my GPS, but since we're using that to film, I can't really use my GPS to find where it is. I think it's down that way.
That's all right.
I think I'm on my...
Now, if you can get these dramatic mountains up here, John, with the mist and the snow, you can kind of give people an understanding of, when you live in Juneau, this is what you wake up to every day.
They probably take for granted.
Oh, I'm sure many of them do, although I've lived here 2 years and I still don't take it for granted. And I've talked to locals who've lived here since, like I talked to a guy yesterday that lived here since 1984. He says still, every day he wakes up in awe of where he lives.
That's nice.
And he's been here since 1984. This is a very special place. And there's two things that make it special. Obviously, Yah's creation, but also, there's not that many people. No. Usually when you have a place like this, it gets flooded with people and it just gets intolerable. Right. But it's impossible for this place to get overflooded because the only way you can get here is by boat and plane, and there's just a limited place for people to live.
I guess if they still had the gold going, they'd be here.
Well, I asked the guy who had lived here since 1984, I said, how has Juneau changed? Because most people, if you live in an area since 1984, it's changed pretty dramatically. He said, oh, hasn't changed much at all. The population when he moved here was 27,000, and now today, 30 years later, it's 34,000. So we have like a 0.1% population growth, which is pretty nice. All right, so before we continue farther north, we're gonna go to Douglas Island since we're at the bridge that links the mainland to the island. And folks, the mountains that John's showing you right now, right in front of us, that's Douglas Island. There's literally a channel between us and those mountains that you're seeing, and we're about to go over a bridge, the only bridge in Juneau that, or at least the only lengthy bridge that actually links an island, because there's a lot of islands right next to Juneau, but this is the only bridge that actually connects Juneau to an island, and Douglas Island is a very large island. So here we're now crossing the bridge and heading from downtown Juneau, heading west. And if John can somehow show the channel, it's called the Gastineau Channel, If I'm pronouncing that right. This is just a finger of the Pacific Ocean, guys, because it empties out into the Pacific Ocean. But this is what separates the mainland from the island that we're about to go on to.
Would you say this is all salt water here?
Oh yeah, it's all brackish saltwater, all of it, because it's all connected to the Pacific Ocean. There's just a lot of islands and sort of interlocking land masses between here and where you see the broad Pacific Ocean. So first we're going to go to the south end of Douglas Island, which actually we're about to pass where John and Jeff were staying in their Airbnb.
This will be a neat video to watch.
Yeah. It'll also test how long I can record.
Have your memory.
You know?
Yeah.
Because usually about this time, 30 minutes, like when I do my Q conferences,
Yeah.
right around this time, the 30-minute mark, it stops.
It's done, yeah.
So let's see how far we can go here. John, if you can try to get some of the glimpses of this when it opens up, because it's very dramatic over on the left side, but of course when the trees are there, it's every once in a while you'll see breaks in the. This again, the Airbnb that they're staying at is on this side, and that's why they have this dramatic view of the channel and then downtown Juneau, which is now to the east of us.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. There's their. You got to go down these steps down the hill, and that's where their Airbnb is, and you can just
How
see.
many steps are there?
67.
67.
That's what the Airbnb landlord told me. And she's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure, John?" Because I told him that John's 79 years old. Are you sure John's up for 67 steps up and down? And I said, "Oh, John said he's fine. He's fine with it."
John always says he's fine. When I'm 90 years old, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be all right.
I'm doing good. When do you turn 80, by the way?
In February
Okay.
26th.
So you're almost 80.
Yes, I
A
am.
big 80. So get this, because there's a long, dramatic. So we were just over there when we were driving up to driving south to Thane. That's there's a road that we were on.
Yeah.
And now, of course, we're on the island, so we're to the west of where we were. So again, we're going to the extreme south end of Douglas Island. And Douglas Island is neat. They have the 4th of July, actually it's the 3rd of July, it's the day before. The firemen place hosts this July 3rd get-together on Savi Island, which is Savi Beach, sorry, not island, Savi Beach, which is a beach off of Douglas Island down here. And they hold a big get-together with hamburgers and hot dogs. All the food's free. The whole community comes out. It's like in the pioneer days. And I remember when I first lived here, I didn't know a soul in Juneau, and yet I went there and they made me feel like I'd lived here forever. The people are very friendly.
Yeah.
You just don't get that in Portland, Oregon, where I was living for 20 years, or in other areas. You just don't get that. But here, it's like the pioneer days. People are very
Maybe
friendly.
because it's such a big city. I know that a lot of people just.
Right, the bigger the city, the more self-possessed and cold people are, but you get these small communities. Again, Juneau's only 34,000 people. Depending on how you compare us with Fairbanks, we're either the 2nd or 3rd largest city in all of Alaska, but you think of Alaska, it's 2.5 times the size of Texas with only a population of about 700,000 people. Most of those people live in Anchorage. So Alaska's dotted with these small communities, Juneau being one of the larger ones at 34,000 people, where people are very friendly.
Look at that on the left, John. Look at that river coming down.
Yeah, you see the rivers, though, and again, those rivers freeze. There's the fireman house right there. That's we just passed the Island Pub Grill, Jeff, that I took you to. The first restaurant we went to.
Oh yeah, that's
came in April.
Place. Yeah.
And this is all the way south or is this north?
This is south. We're heading south. I'm going to take you to the end of the road, and then I'm going to take you down to the sandy beach I was just telling you about, where they have the 4th of July. Actually, they do the 3rd of July, and the reason they do the 3rd of July is because when the miners used to work here, their shift would start at midnight. So they couldn't do fireworks on 4th of July like every other Americans do, because they had to be at work at midnight, right? Mm-hmm. So instead, we celebrate the night of the 3rd of July going into the 4th of July. And it just stuck with us, even though the miners no longer work at the mine here. It just, that stuck. And so we celebrate on the night of the 3rd of July rather than the 4th of July.
Wow.
I imagine the founding fathers would be very quite pleased. We're still a country, and their sacrifices.
Constitution is an amazing document, primarily because it's rooted in the Torah. It's rooted in the Bible.
Yeah. Now, there's still a lot of gold mines here?
Well, we're about to actually go to the Treadwell, which was a major gold mine in the 1800s, but it's, of course, not being used anymore because all the gold has either been removed or the government doesn't want us to have it. So,
maybe that's some of the gold that.
but there are now government-formed expeditions that go in and get gold. All like when I was up in Fairbanks, they talked about it, but you can't just go out as a solo person anymore because you got to get licenses and be sanctioned by the government, all sorts of stuff in order to dig up gold now. So this is a place I took Jeff in April. You take this trail down and you go down into, there's literally remnants of a mine, of a gold mine down here. This is the end of the road. This is the extreme south. I'm not the south end of the island, but this is as far south as you can get on the island. And this is the Treadwell mine. And it was abandoned because it literally caved in.
Welcome to Treadwell.
Yeah, the Treadwell mine. So some places, some remnants of a mine down there.
Yeah.
Now you can get this thing, and you can actually see the top. If you can show people the top of where the tram goes. I don't know if you see that.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to zoom up so people can. Guys, that's the top of the tram, right there, where the restaurant is. And we're looking again across the channel at downtown Juneau. There we go. If your hand gets tired, let me know. I'll hold it for a while. Okay, now we're going to go to the other end of Douglas Island. So that was the south end. Now we're going to go north, and actually we're going to curve around to the west, and then it'll eventually stop halfway. Well, as it curves to the west, it'll stop going west, and that's as far as you get. Most of Douglas Island, if you look at it from an aerial view, most of Douglas Island is non-developed. There's this more developed area, and then there's the ski resort, which I'll show you guys the ski resort on our way to the other end of Douglas Island. But other than that, the whole island is pretty much wilderness. And I've discovered some trails that take you into that wilderness area along the west side of the island, going south.
Where's water coming from? Is it a glacier way up there?
There are glaciers. So there's, I forget how many, I think there's 7 glaciers in the Juneau area.
It's streaming down that mountain.
Yeah, that all comes from glacier runoff that you can't even see because they're way up. I mean, those mountains, you can't even see the top of them because of the clouds are so low today.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll show you guys where we have our 4th of July or 3rd of July
Quite a trip going down that.
celebrations here.
Those rivers going on top of that mountain.
Oh, man.
It'd be the rapids, unbelievable. If you could survive it.
This is pretty spectacular. Look at that.
That's awesome. Amazing stuff.
And again, all those rivers freeze in the winter. They're not frozen yet. They're still free flowing. But they come from glaciers. That's pure water. And those are the waterfalls we were seeing as we were driving toward Thane, going to the south end of Juneau. So this is where there's actually a guy who, they have their main fireworks display in downtown Juneau, but there's a guy who buys his own fireworks, and he does a fireworks display where he launches it from this little gravel pit right here.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it is the most spectacular fireworks I've ever seen. I've been to Epcot Center in Disney World before I knew that Disney was satanic pedophilia, and even that fireworks show at Epcot that they do every night is nothing compared to what this guy did.
Wow.
It was absolutely incredible. Oh, this is the Gustanaw Channel, the finger of the Pacific Ocean that separates Douglas Island from from the mainland, from the western rim of the continent.
There's that little house.
And this is a little isthmus that we're on right now. People dock on that side, and then of course but you can only go so far because this is gated off. They have a special, forget what's up here. I think it's some sort of government, top secret government facility. Let me see here. No, it's just the United States Coast Guard. That's all it is. Okay. But it is, it's the Department of Homeland Security, so they're not going to let the public go there.
Oh, no.
So
Public might have some bad intentions.
So in any case, but it's a neat, I'd like to, hopefully I won't back off into the actual ocean as I'm trying to do my, we're supposed to do a three-point turn is what you get taught in driver's ed, but this is more like a 30-point turn. Whoa!
Don't go too far.
Hopefully I don't back off into the ocean, guys. Okay,
There we
go.
That's where we worked.
Very narrow.
Right on that beach right there.
So if you can get, in fact, I want to do a close-up. So you see this, if you keep going that way and you'll get out into the Pacific Ocean proper. You go around, you see Douglas Island on the right there, and you see the mainland on the left. And those mountains in front are again more islands, interlocking islands, and part of the mainland jutting out. But you can actually get out to the Pacific Ocean proper from here. Anyway. Hallelujah. So now I'm going to drive over here where we actually have the 3rd of July celebration at the firehouse.
They had the eagles. Remember Daniel on top of that little house?
Oh yeah, that guardhouse. That was part of the mine. Yeah, in fact, Jeff and I walked up and down. That's a lot of balls. Jeff and I walked up and down that. Remember that, Jeff? We walked up and down that's called Sandy Beach. This is where they celebrate the 4th of July or 3rd of July, and they have the big firehouse get together right underneath this green. They have the 3rd or 4th of July thing, and then they also have a Labor Day celebration too, with a lot of free food here, and then there's actually right around this bend right there's a big cabin, and inside there they have roaring fireplaces, and for the Labor Day people go in there and they have this big celebration there as well.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's all free. It's all free for the community.
Free, huh?
Talk about stairs. So those stairs right there, guys, is similar to what Jeff and John have to traverse to get down to their Airbnb.
Oh.
Those types of stairs.
Don't even remind me of that. Oh, look at
I
that.
just thought I'd give you a good workout, John.
Yeah. You sure did.
Of course, we have these pagan phallic symbols, which are the totem poles.
Yeah.
The original phallic symbols before the Masons came here in the 1700s. We got these phallic symbols put up by the Native Americans who once worshipped Yah, but they started worshiping the creation rather than the creator. They forsook Yah, and they began to become evil and pagans, satanic pedophiles themselves, unfortunately. Not all of them, but culturally, just like our culture has become one of satanic pedophilia in many ways. Although Trump is reversing that, at least for a time. All right, so now we're going to continue on our journey to the other end of the northwest end of Douglas Island. And we're now continuing. So we're going to now get out of this more developed part of Douglas Island and get into a more rural area. We're actually, one of these areas as we drive to the other end of Douglas Island is where one of 2 places where I've seen a bear. Well, actually now one of 3 places I've seen a bear. I saw a bear.
The gas is kind of high here.
It's not as high as California, but it's definitely higher than you guys in Louisiana. What are gas prices like in New Jersey, John?
$2.60 or something like that.
That's pretty good. California, they've gotten up to 4. Here it's like $3.30 to $3.50, but then I get discounts. I often, because I have a Fred Meyer card, which is the local grocery store here, I can often get discounts with my card and get it down to $3.17 a gallon.
maybe
Wow.
one day get an electric car or something, or one of those.
Well, you know, they invented cars long ago. Tesla and others invented cars that could run on water and electricity, but the deep state cabal, the black hats, they've suppressed all that. And I believe during the second term of President Trump is when a lot of that technology is going to be released.
And also cures for.
Oh yeah, they have machines that can cure you of any type of ailment, disease. Of course, we've had the cure for cancer for over 100 years through Dr. Gerson, but the government killed him and persecuted him. But amazingly, Dr. Gerson still has 2 clinics. They're just not in the United States. One's in Mexico and one's in Europe, I believe. But he just did a whole food, organic juicing diet, and he had a 100% cure rate of all forms of cancer, brain cancer, breast cancer. But the government did not want his stuff getting out. But you can go to his website still. It's GersonInstitute.org.
That's because the pharmaceutical companies give them so much money.
Yeah, so I think, but you know, Trump is trying to take down these pharmaceutical companies, and I think in the hopefully in his second term, he's gonna open up the doorways to a lot of this technology, and that's why you know, I had a friend who had a vision of what it's gonna be like right before the Great Tribulation begins. He says technology is gonna be so far advanced by the time we get to the Great Tribulation that literally with the flick of a wrist you can just get whatever you want. And this is why a lot of people are going to depart from Yah, because life is going to be so easy, way easier than it is now. I mean, we think we have technology now. It's nothing compared to what it's going to be like
if you take the mark of the beast.
Well, even before you get to that point, I'm saying you're going to have an explosion of technology.
Well,
but
we're there already.
No,
they're giving out the mark of the beast now. They're putting it in your hand.
Well, yeah, but that's just very limited and on a, you know, very few people have taken it. It hasn't become a worldwide thing. It's going to become a worldwide thing, but I'm saying before we get to that point, you're going to see way more technology than I believe between now and, because my opinion is that the Great Tribulation begins in early 2024. I believe between now and 2024, you're going to have such an explosion of technology that this world is going to be unrecognizable from what it looks like right now. That's what I think. Now, I could be wrong, but yeah, then you're right. Once the Great Tribulation begins, only those who take the mark will be able to continue with the ease of that technology.
I was telling John about in the airport that children, you know, years ago were getting these microchips put in them so if they got lost, they could find them and stuff like that. It seemed kind of funny to me at the time, even to put something in a child like that.
So again, this is the bridge that links back to the mainland. We're not going to go to the mainland right now. We're going to continue on toward the other end of Douglas. Okay. Well, I believe what the mark of the beast is we see some prototypes now, but what it's eventually going to be when they've really got the technology perfected is it's going to be nanobots at a biological level in a serum that they're going to inject or somehow get inside your body, and those nanobots are going to form a spiderweb network over your brain and make you so that you're going to want to serve the son of perdition with everything in you. And this is why the Bible says anyone who takes that will not be able to get saved. There's no chance of salvation. And furthermore, the way the beast is going to promise people is not only, you know, you're only going to be able to buy and sell if you take it, but also he's going to say that if you take the serum, it'll give you like eternal life, or you'll be able to live much longer than normal, like 1,000 years or whatever.
People have no choice; they just shoot them.
That's not gonna happen. According to what the Bible says, you have to voluntarily take it, and if you don't take it, then the penalty is they're gonna chop off your head and harvest your organs. That's the penalty. So no one's gonna be forced to take it.
Well, you can only die once in that way, and you know, go ahead and die.
Oh yeah, blessed is he who dies in the Messiah at that point, because then you inherit your crown of salvation, and you're going to rule and reign with Jesus in the coming millennium. So, but there's going to be a lot of people that get their heads chopped off because for 3.5 years it says that the beast makes war and prevails over the saints. So there's going to this bloodbath that the son of perdition does against anyone who decides not to take the mark of the beast is going to make Hitler and Stalin and Mao and the French Reformation look like child's play.
I would say that in Paris, when they were doing that a lot, cutting people's head off, someone did they were going to get their heads cut off, so they said, "Watch my head," and they actually were winking, you know, at someone to show that they were still with us. The head had life.
Well, once you cut the head off, you're only alive for a few seconds or maybe a minute.
Death.
It's not instant death, but you don't have any pain because your vertebrae has been severed. So you don't experience any pain after the head's been removed. You just are sort of aware that your head's not on your body anymore and that you're dead. As far as I know.
Guillotine.
The guillotine, yeah. And they're going to bring out the guillotines. In fact, I think they're originally going to be brought out to execute these satanic pedophiles, but then, of course, once the son of perdition comes to power, then they'll be turned on the believers.
Well, Obama bought 30,000 guillotines.
Yep. And all those guillotines and caskets and FEMA camps are going to be used against the satanic pedophiles, I believe.
It's like an Esther.
It's like an Esther. It's like a Purim. But then, of course, again, when we get to that prophesied time of the son of perdition, by that time it'll be so embedded in our culture that we've been using these guillotines to execute satanic pedophiles that it won't be a huge shock when they continue with that judicial system.
Right.
But this time it'll be under the Noahide laws and the son of perdition and all that stuff. We're getting a lot of rain. Hallelujah. 44 degrees.
How far we are from the North Pole?
Well, halfway, the 45th parallel, halfway between the equator and North Pole is in Salem, Oregon, which is about an hour south of Portland. And we're about 1,500 miles north of Portland right now. So, not far from the North Pole.
Maybe Trump will get to the 2020 will get to buy Greenland.
What's that?
Maybe Trump will get to buy Greenland in 2020.